The NCAA Tournament is right around the corner, and Quinnipiac faces an upset-minded RIT squad. Our own Andrew Badillo talks with ESPN Radio and RIT SportsZone play-by-play commentator Gene Battaglia on how the Tigers stack up against the Bobcats.
Dylan, we also break out the touchscreen. Victoria Rutigliano and Kirby Paulson stop by to dissect the entire East region. Could there be another battle of Whitney Ave? But before we begin, we leave you with some sights and sounds from Quinnipiac's first ECAC championship.
Started with 60, now we're down to 16. That's how many programs have a shot to win a national championship. Who will emerge victorious? Welcome inside the neutral zone, presented by Q30 Television and Q30 Sports. Alongside co-host Morey Hershgordon, I'm Dylan Fearon.
Dylan, the brackets are set, and there's quite a few intriguing matchups. But before we dive into anything, let's see how each team got here, and who else better than to start with than the top overall seed.
That's right, Morey. It's been an incredible season for the Quinnipiac Bobcats. Over 25 wins, a season sweep of crosstown rival Yale, and an ECAC regular season championship have all been part of this historic campaign. But an ECAC tournament victory would be even sweeter. After a 2-1 series win over Cornell in the quarterfinals, Quinnipiac traveled to Lake Placid for a semifinal battle with Dartmouth. As the Bobcats over the brains in New York as Connor Clifton, Sam Annis, and Craig Martin all lit the lamp en route to a 3-1 win. Bobcats cruised to a championship game appearance against Harvard, but would they win?
Dylan, you know what they say about facing a team for the third time after a season sweep. Quinnipiac did just that against Harvard in the regular season, but I think the third game, the stakes were just a little bit higher. In the first period, star forward Sam Annis was the victim of a 5-minute boarding major from Crimson forward Luke Esposito. Annis wouldn't return. When both teams took the ice to begin the second period in a scoreless tie, the Bobcats had a chip on their shoulder. 2 goals in just 30 seconds on the power play, followed by another man advantage goal, gave Quinnipiac a 3-0 lead en route to a 4-1 championship game final score. Rand Pecklin and his squad finally sit atop the ECAC with the Whitelaw Cup in hand.
Quinnipiac now travels to Albany for the NCAA Tournament's East Regional. Its opponent's RIT, the Atlantic Hockey's automatic bid. But the Tigers have recent success against top seeds. Our own Andrew Badillo talked with the voice of Tiger hockey.
Thanks a lot, guys. We're joined alongside a special guest today, Gene Battaglia of the RIT SportsZone, the voice of RIT men's ice hockey. Gene, how are you?
I'm great, Andrew. Thanks for inviting me on.
No problem, Gene. And the RIT team, it was a bit of a Cinderella story for them in the playoffs. They defeated the second-seeded Air Force in the semifinals, went on to beat Robert Morris 7-4 in the championship game. Gene, what were your takeaways from that game?
It was an RIT team that finally was healthy all together at once. You know, as a fifth seed, you don't normally see a team, going through the playoffs like RIT did, but getting goalie Mike Rotolo back was so huge for this team, not having a club goaltender, which they had to go with for nearly a month in February. So RIT was, preseason number 2 in Atlantic hockey, right up there with Robert Morris. So in the end, you had the 2 best teams in the conference playing for it. And the benefit for RIT is they did it in front of the home crowd. So this is a Tiger team that, right now seems to be peaking at the right time, obviously.
Certainly peaking at the right time. RIT exploded in that championship game. Gene, let's transition on over now to this weekend's game. The RIT Tigers are facing off against the Quinnipiac Bobcats in the first round of the NCAA Tournament. Familiar spot for RIT. They made it to this stage last season. They defeated the top-ranked Minnesota State. Is the vibe in the locker room different, or is it sort of they've been there, done that after defeating Minnesota State last year?
No, it's the old cliche house money, if you guys want to say that. It's, hey, we're here, and the pressure's not on us. So that's kind of been the sentiment around, the dressing room this week with RIT is that, they did this last year. Now, mind you, last year, different year, RIT had a top-scoring line, which 2/3 of that line is gone. So there's an RIT team this year that is a little bit better on the blue line than they were last year. College hockey is not college basketball. You had a number 16 beat a number 1 last year, and here RIT is, again, in the same situation.
We're joined by Gene Battaglia, the voice of RIT Tigers hockey on RIT SportsZone Live. NCAA Regional is Saturday. Quinnipiac takes on RIT 4 o'clock from the Times Union Center in Albany. Gene, Quinnipiac is a high-powered offensive team this year. They run 4 lines, explosive on the power play and on the penalty kill, also very good in their own zone. How have the Tigers faced off this year against teams with high-powered offense?
Well, in Atlantic hockey, you really had only 2, I would say. Robert Morris was 3rd in the nation in scoring. Now, those numbers are kind of skewed. I understand that, playing in the conference. And Mercyhurst University was another team that played, with a lot of offense, not much back, on the blue line. What the challenge for RIT is the 4 lines that Quinnipiac is going to roll out here. The blue line, they're set. The 6 that RIT will send out, there's no holes there. You're not going to find any weaknesses matchup-wise. It's the question is, can the RIT lines, the 3rd and 4th lines, keep up with the speed of Quinnipiac? Because I'm sure, your team is going to be rolling 4 lines pretty rapidly. Can RIT stick with that?
RIT's goaltending was certainly the difference in last year's NCAA Tournament game against Minnesota State. But, Gene, let's transfer over to some more players to watch heading into the weekend. Possibly Miles Powell, who had a breakout game in that semifinal and championship games over the weekend, the Atlantic Hockey Tournament. Who are some of the players to watch upcoming in this regional?
Yeah, Powell is the beneficiary. Really, it's number 25, Josh Mitchell. 30 assists on the season. He's a guy, he was playing on the top line last year that kind of graduated, but that top line had the game-winning goal against Minnesota State. So Mitchell is the guy who sets up Powell. But then everybody on the defense, you're going to see RIT will they pick their spots. They'll have their defensemen pitched. All 6 guys can score. So you have the Norris twins, you have Alexander Kukaly, you have number 12, Greg Amlong. Amlong's an interesting story. This is actually his 4th trip to the NCAA Tournament. His first 2 years, he was at UMass Lowell, then transferred over to RIT. So he's certainly got some experience. All 6 guys on that defense have played in NCAA games. So it's a team that has some talent up front. They don't really have any stars. None of these guys are going to go on to play in the NHL, but they play well together. So we'll see what happens.
Gene Battaglia of the RIT SportsZone, thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Really looking forward to the game on Saturday, and I appreciate the invite, guys.
No problem. NCAA Regional game is Saturday at 4 o'clock. Quinnipiac takes on RIT. That's enough for me. Back to you guys.
Not so fast, Andrew. We're going to bring you in to break down what you and Gene just talked about. Gene mentioned a lot of things about RIT. One of them is a strength, and that's their blue line. What about their defense has made RIT so good and can upset a number 1 team like Quinnipiac? And what's Quinnipiac's offense going to do come Saturday to try to stymie that defense?
Hey, thanks a lot, Dylan. I got to keep it a little short. I got a class I got to run to in 15 minutes. But, yeah, Gene spoke a lot about RIT's blue line, how it is a strength for them. There are no weaknesses on the defensive unit. However, Quinnipiac is such an explosive offensive team this year. They run 4 lines, as we spoke about in the interview. They're 4 lines deep. You got Tim Clifton on that 4th line, who's one of the leaders in point scoring, not only on the Bobcats, but in the ECAC. The Bobcats also utilize their speed on the outside, dumping pucks into the zone, connecting passes through the neutral zone, and transitioning that onto offense. Bobcats love to control the puck, Dylan, and RIT does like to control the puck as well. However, the Bobcats are have superior talent on offense, and I think that that's going to carry them into this matchup and eventually going to get them by the RIT Tigers.
Let's talk about something that's been consistent for Quinnipiac and not for RIT, the goaltenders. Michael Garteg's been in net all season long, but there's been not a familiar face in the net for RIT. Talk about the goaltenders, Andrew.
Yeah, certainly, Dylan. I mean, it's been sort of a revolving door for the Tigers this year. First, you got Mike Rotolo, who went down, the starting goaltender, with an injury earlier in the year. Me and Gene spoke about it on the interview. The backup goalie got hurt. The third-string goalie left school before the year even started. They had to rely on a club hockey goaltender to get them through a portion of the season, Dylan. That's incredible, only to make it into the conference tournament, get Rotolo back in the conference tournament. Then they went on to win it. The resiliency of this team was pretty much unmatched throughout Atlantic hockey, as we obviously saw it in the tournament. But Dylan, I like the goaltending matchup in this game. I think that the goaltending matchup can certainly pick the winner of this game. I think Garteg obviously has the upper hand, as he's been one of the premier goaltenders in the ACAC and in the country this year. He's had a little bit of a slower second half, struggled a little bit, but he really came on hard up in Lake Placid, kept Quinnipiac in that first period against Harvard, and was ultimately the deciding factor for Quinnipiac coming out of that period scoreless. But I also like Rotolo. He came on hot in the playoffs, as I said, led his team past Mercyhurst in the quarterfinals, the team that injured him earlier in the year. He plays with a fiery spirit, as head coach Wayne Wilson said, for the Tigers. He's one of the most important players on that team, and RIT has seen success from its goaltenders in the NCAA tournament in years past. Last year, their goaltender led them to an upset over the #1 overall seed, Minnesota State. So RIT's been there, and they've done that. I think the goaltenders are going to be extremely important come Saturday.
Both teams bring a lot of experience. It should be a very exciting game come Saturday. Andrew Badillo, appreciate the time.
Thanks a lot, Dylan.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Morey and I are back, and we talk to Kirby, Paulson, and Victoria Rutigliano as they break down the rest of the East region. Stay tuned.
The freshmen this year have stepped in and really just eliminated that problem, doing the right plays at the right time.
I mean, it certainly seems like an uphill battle for this team, but Tricia Fabi is one of the best coaches at this university.
Bobcats hosting Arizona State. We'll start with this power play.
But she's strong. Good Lord, I saw her lifting one time. She could squat 3 of me. Like,
Oh, well, 7 of me then.
What a matchup it will be, Dylan. And now that the fans are caught up on the Quinnipiac RIT matchup, Victoria Rutigliano and Kirby Paulson join us to preview the rest of the region.
Thanks, guys. I'm Victoria Rutigliano, joined alongside by Kirby Paulson to talk some NCAA men's ice hockey tournament bracketology. Let's move into the Eastern Regional because Quinnipiac and RIT are playing, as well as Yale and UMass. Quinnipiac made team history this past weekend, beating Harvard in the ECAC Championship 4-1 to take home its first ever White Law Cup. And then RIT won the Atlantic Division, upsetting Robert Morris in the championship. Robert Morris was the #1 seed. RIT was #5. They beat them 7-4, ensuring them a first-round spot in the NCAA tournament. What do you see coming from these teams?
Well, I think it's important to mention, especially for RIT, is last year in the tournament, they actually beat the #1 overall seed, Minnesota State. So really, when you get to tournament time in college hockey, you never know what's going to happen. It all kind of depends on who's on a hot streak and who's not. But I think I'm going to have to take Quinnipiac in this matchup. Quinnipiac's offense has been absolutely stellar as of late. RIT's defense has struggled a little bit. They were the surprising upset in the Atlantic Hockey Championship. But at the same time, I almost thought that Robert Morris or Holy Cross might win that. So it's a bit of a surprise that RIT's here in the first place. I don't think their offense necessarily has the capabilities to go up against this tough Quinnipiac defense, so I'm going to have to go with Quinnipiac with the advantage here.
And do you see Quinnipiac winning even if Sam Annis isn't in the lineup?
I do. Sam Annis is an absolutely spectacular forward, but at the same time, I think Quinnipiac can roll out 4 very full lines with their depth, and they'll be able to beat RIT.
All right, and then moving on to Yale versus UMass. Yale hasn't played a lot of hockey in the past couple weeks, lost to Dartmouth in the ECAC quarterfinals, 2-0. And then UMass, on the other hand, played a lot of hockey this past weekend, went to triple overtime versus Providence in the semifinals, and then lost to Northeastern in the Hockey East Championship. These two teams haven't played since 2013 in the Frozen Four, where Yale actually went on to beat Quinnipiac in the championship. Where do you see these two teams matching up?
Well, I think this is one of the best matchups in the entire national tournament and how the bracket's set up. It's really going to be an absolute thrill. You get two of the best defensive teams in the nation and two of the best goaltenders as well. Kevin Boyle has been red hot as of late for UMass Lowell. He's made some big-time saves in a big-time conference tournament in Hockey East. And Alex Lyon, of course, he's statistically the best goaltender in the entire league. So I think you're going to see a really good goaltending battle, but at the same time, two defensive cores, number 1 and 2 in Yale and UMass Lowell, that are going to really kind of show up here. Goals are going to come at a premium. This game could absolutely go to overtime.
John Bucharest actually said that if he was going to put money on anything, it'd be that this game went to overtime. But do you see any specific players jumping out from either squad?
Well, I think for Yale, establishing an offensive front, not just their defensive as well, is going to be important for them. Guys like John Hayden are going to have to come up big and score a couple of goals and get that scoring touch back. But of course, Yale's defense, we continue to talk about it because it's very important. Guys like Rob O'Gara, really the core of that defensive line. So you're really going to see that side. But on the UMass Lowell side, you have guys like C.J. Smith that are constantly found the score sheet this season. They're going to come up big in big situations like this.
Okay, and then moving on to Quinnipiac versus UMass Lowell. These teams haven't played since last year when UMass Lowell took the first game of the regular season and then they tied in the game the next night. Where do you see the teams ending up here?
Well, I did take UMass Lowell over Yale because I do think they have just that much more of an offensive edge. Both teams are exceptional in their goaltending and defense. At the same time, I think UMass Lowell will be able to get the scoring going. This is going to be a very interesting matchup if it does indeed happen. Quinnipiac and UMass Lowell are very similar in that they both have faster styles of play. UMass Lowell, of course, contending with some of the biggest schools in Hockey East. So it's going to be a very close game against a team like Quinnipiac that likes to use their point guys to move the puck quite a bit. And then, of course, Lowell, who has a very strong defense. It's going to be very even match. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one go into extra frames as well.
All right, and so in the end, who do you have?
I took UMass Lowell in the Eastern Regional, and I'll tell you why. I think UMass Lowell has that much more of an edge over Quinnipiac. I saw them play in that triple overtime throw against Providence, and I saw them play the next night against a red-hot Northeastern team. UMass Lowell does have what it takes to get out of big games like this. They have absolutely exceptional defense like we continue to talk about, but Kevin Boyle really does make a difference for this team, and I think even with the potent Quinnipiac offense, and especially with aggressive shot taking, Boyle will be able to withstand that, and I think he's going to be a key player for UMass Lowell to get them to the Frozen Four.
All right, well, for more information on the UMass Lowell Scouting Report, check out Kirby's article for QBSN on their website. And then check us out on Twitter at Q30 Sports and on our website at Q30television.com. Back to you guys at the desk.
Kirby, Victoria, thank you for all the insight. Dylan, that wraps it up. But before we go, I want to know your Frozen Four.
Well, Quinnipiac's going to come out of the East region. They look very, very strong. I've got Boston College as well, Boston U. So we got two Mass teams. And I've got Michigan. I mean, they've got some really great forwards, and they might have one of the top players in the country.
So it's two Hockey East teams, an ECAC team, and the upstart Michigan squad with its top three all in the Hobie Baker Award finalists. For more information about Quinnipiac ice hockey and the East region, please follow our beat reporters, Andrew Badillo, Victoria Rutigliano, MJ Baird, and Kyle Lavasser. They've done a tremendous job not only in Lake Placid last weekend, but upcoming this weekend in Albany, New York at the Times Union Center for the East Regional. And for more information about Quinnipiac athletics in general, don't forget to check out our website at Q30television.com and on social media at Q30 Sports.
One last thing, Morey's 21st birthday shout out to the hardest working man I know.
Thank you, Dylan.
Morey Hershgordon, everyone in the studio. I'm Dylan Fearon. Have a good one.